Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field inform, educate and then inspire the community to be healthier and balanced and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today is health coach Denise Mokadsi. Will be discussing what the best diet is for you. Do your genetics hold the answers? Welcome, Denise.
Hi, how are you going?
With so many diets out there, it can feel overwhelming. Why doesn't one diet fit all of us?
It's so frustrating, isn't it, for people to find what's the right diet or best nutrition advice for them. Because we are all so different, it's hard to have a one diet fits all. It just won't work. And so the genes, our genes, really do hold the answer to what is going to be the best diet for us. And the way that we look at that, because it's food and our genes, it's lifestyle and our biology together, that's epigenetics basically. So it's how do we make our lifestyle work for us given the biology we've got. So maybe some people have heard of epigenetics, but to help people understand what it actually is, it is basically the influence of our lifestyle on our genes. So epi refers to above or beyond the genes, and the genetics part is talking about our DNA. So what changes does our lifestyle bring to our genetics? How does it change the expression of our genes? And when we know that, we can work out maybe what diet is going to be best for us. That's kind of really why one diet doesn't fit everybody, because we're all just so different.
Denise, how can knowing our own genetic makeup help us choose the best diet for our own individual bodies?
This is quite an important one, because if we're eating foods that don't suit our genetics, then it's adding more stress into the body or causing more disease or illness down the track if we continue to do it. So understanding our genes can be very beneficial for that reason. For example, if you've got an allergy to gluten, for example, or your body doesn't process gluten properly, then that's going to be a big stress into your body. So it's helpful to know that you've got a gene or some gene variation that means that you're not going to process gluten properly. We can test for multiple types of foods with gene testing, but also from an epigenetic point of view, we can see how someone is metabolizing carbohydrates or caffeine or fats. And when we know that we've got better predisposition to certain foods, then it just means that we're eating foods that are, like I said, not going to harm us. So, for example, some people you might know have coffee straight after dinner, like an espresso after dinner, and they're fine. It doesn't affect their sleep. But someone else who is a slow caffeine metabolizer, for example, would struggle doing that. They would stay awake all night, or they might even have a coffee earlier in the day after lunch, and it still affects their sleep because they're taking quite a long time to metabolize the caffeine. So that's another way that we could be really helpful for what we're choosing, what foods we're choosing to eat. The other thing that is often missed for a lot of people is the timings of food, and we can work out epigenetically when is going to be best for someone to eat. So for example, someone might be better to just eat one bigger meal during the day and have more that intermittent fasting or fast for long hours throughout the day, whereas someone else, it's much better for their body to eat smaller, more frequent meals. So they might be someone that has 5 or 6 small meals consistently throughout the day compared to someone else that has just one. Or someone will be better to metabolize carbohydrates, so they would be better on a vegetarian kind of diet. Someone can be better metabolizing protein, so they might do well having meat and fish and things like that. So understanding all of that is very helpful. It just takes the guesswork out. You can try to eat all sorts of different foods, but you might notice that you don't feel particularly well after eating a particular food or eating in a certain way. Like if you do eat frequent small meals, like maybe you just don't feel good doing that. So at least the genetic testing takes out the guesswork. You don't have to go through the struggle of not feeling well because you're eating a certain way or certain foods. And so there's lots of ways that we can actually test for that. We can do genetic testing on sequences of DNA, of the codes. And that might be a blood test or a cheek swab or saliva or urine or stool if we're looking for gut issues. Or we can do epigenetic testing from phenotypical measurements. So basically that's what someone looks like, someone's appearance. So we can just do lots of different measures, and the relationship of all of those measures gives us very powerful information. It's super interesting. Like the relationship of your wrist size to your arm length, to your finger length, and to your neck size and your thigh. Like all of those measurements give us information how they relate to each other, which gives us clues about the genetics that we've got and how we're interacting with our lifestyle, because how we are doing that is influencing our outcomes, like how we're showing up because of the result of our genes and what we're doing with our lifestyle.
Thanks for such valuable information, Denise.
Thank you.
If you'd like to know more about how genes affects our success in dieting and Denise, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga will be talking about why people are changing medication for meditation. Welcome back. Our second guest is journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga, and we will be talking about why people are changing medication for meditation. Welcome, Beatriz. It's so great to have you back.
Jai Gurudev, it's so great to have people like you talking about meditation.
So why are people changing their medication for meditation?
Because people have gotten very good results once they get to meditate at the level of the health and at the level of the mind. And like the Romans used to say, healthy mind, healthy body. So people are trying just to get their minds going correctly, get it more calm, more relaxed. We are living at such a speed. We have so many demands. What is stress? Stress is not a number of activities. Stress is not too many things to do. Stress is no time to do things. No, stress is the fluctuation of the mind from the past to the future. The man gets stuck in the future. I'm angry, he did that to me. I'm going to sue them, blah, blah. Or in the future, anxiety, will he get better? Will we win? Is he going to accept me? Will I get the job? Is the war going to be over? Anxiety. This fluctuation of the mind between past and future is resulting in stress. And meditation is bringing the mind to the present moment. So we have heard many times people talking about whether Eckhart Tolle or even the Art of Living people live in the present moment. And you get up in the morning and say, how? Because I get up, I remember my future, I have to pay the bills to the bank, or the fight I had with my boyfriend last night. How to live in the present moment. Meditation brings you to the present moment. And I'm going to tell you something. People think that meditation is concentration. Not at all. People think that meditation is visualization, thinking of something positive, seeing a beautiful field with flowers. Not at all. Meditation is collaborating with your mind. If your mind is going to the problem, let her go. If your mind is going to the past or future, right now, let her go. Collaborate with your mind. You just stay like a statue, and then use your breath to allow yourself to go deeper into meditation. We in the Art of Living teach first to breathe and then to meditate, because breath is like windshield wiping. When you have dust or dirt on the windshield, you wipe it and then you can see. If you use your breath to wash all those thoughts, all those preoccupations and activities of the brain, and then you can sink into meditation deeper. Also, when you are in meditation, and if you're thinking too much, observe your breath. That'll help you to go, because if you're breathing, you are in the present moment. And the present moment is silent and vast. There is no fluctuation of the mind. So this is good to know, that you don't have to visualize anything. You have to make no effort at all, like you're dead. They're taking you to the cemetery, now there is nothing to do. This is the attitude. We teach in the art of living, I am nobody, I want nothing, I do nothing. Like a rag doll. The rag doll doesn't say, oh, I want my hand to be lifted. No, I am no one, I do nothing, and I want nothing. And then the result will be good meditation. After meditation, concentration. Yes, after meditation, the result of meditation is good concentration for good work or good productivity.
So there's concentration after meditation.
After.
What are the other benefits from meditation?
Oh, well, meditation, it's to take the best out of you. Because when you're calm, that's you. When you are relaxed, it's you. The other side is not you. The other is just covers of stress, covers of layers of anxiety, layers of preoccupations. When you're after meditation, you're a simple, beautiful human being, nothing to do. I went to a congress of coaches. There were 2,000 coaches in a big theater. And then I was telling them, how do you seduce people? Calm mind and beautiful smile. The smile shows what's inside. A baby goes into a pharmacy with a mom, and the baby seduces everybody. Even the pharmacist comes out to say, oh, look at the chicken, and the baby's so natural. He's relaxed, she relaxed, and the smile is natural. When I talk about seduction, I don't mean sexual only. You can seduce your mom, you can seduce your brother, you can seduce your dad, you can seduce your boss. Those are the result of calm mind, meditation for that.
Wow, thank you so much. So do you have any advice for our viewers?
Yes, meditation, like I said before, do not pretend to, oh, I see a beautiful green field with flowers, nothing like that. Empty stomach and always sitting down. Now, if you're sick and you're in hospital, meditate in the bed, yeah? But if you are just a normal, you cannot meditate after food because the metabolism is working, so you have to have an empty stomach. And find, if you're a beginner, a quiet corner somewhere. I meditate on an aeroplane, in a train, I meditate in the doctor's office, I meditate everywhere because I've been meditating 26 years. But if you are a beginner, then just make sure to have a quiet corner and look at the watch and give yourself 20 minutes. I give myself 20 in the morning and 20 in the evening. I tell you, those are the best invested moments of your life because we invest to work for somebody else. The benefits is for the hospital, for people to get healed. If you fly an aeroplane, it's for the benefit of us, the tourists. And this is for yourself. And this is the only moment where you should be egoist and never say, I have no time. Time is there. If you meditate and you're calm, your family is happier. And your colleagues in the office also.
Thank you so much, Beatriz. If you would like to know more about people changing medication for meditation and Beatriz Goyoaga, you can visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll be back with another interesting guest and another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, trauma therapist and author Melissa Hiemann will be talking about how trauma shows up in our parenting. Welcome back. Our last guest, Melissa Hiemann, is a trauma therapist and author, and the topic we'll be discussing today is how trauma affects our parenting. Welcome, Melissa.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming. So, Melissa, how does trauma affect our parenting?
Yes, so firstly, I'll explain what trauma is. So trauma and in relation to parenting is usually ages 0 to 7, where we have a very strong emotional response where we feel very scared or very stressed out, but we don't have someone safe there with us to help us process that, or we feel like we're trapped and that energy can't move through our body and it gets stuck in our body, and it can cause behaviours, negative thoughts and flashbacks later in life. It can definitely affect our relationship in regards to that we have with our kids, our relationship with parenting, our relationship with another parent, if we have a partner, because we're taught certain ways of how to be nurturing, we're taught certain ways of how to discipline a child, and we've received it in certain ways. And so that can impact what we do with our children, right? So for example, with me, my mum was left at a boarding school when she was 4 years old. And so she didn't have a lot of nurturing there. And so when she came to having me, it was really about, in that generation, the food is on the table, roof over your head, and there wasn't much emotional support, and she would never sit down and play with me. And so for me personally, as a parent, I forgive her and I understand that that's just the way that she was brought up. But then when it came to actually playing with my child, I actually found it very difficult, and that nurturing and playful side didn't come out naturally, and I had to really work on that because I was neglected in that way. So that can be one example. Another example is, say someone is very strict as a parent and they believe that hitting or that kind of discipline is good, even though they might be alcoholics because they have anxiety all the time and they're always worried about getting in trouble. Even as an adult, they just like, well, that's the way I was parented, this is how I'm going to parent my kids. And that strictness, the child and the parent lose their bond and their connection and trust. And the kid just learns that I only get attention maybe when I'm doing something naughty, and that can really perpetuate the behaviour, and that could be generational. Then when that child becomes a parent, they could believe that the discipline in that way is the right thing to do. And then you can go on the other spectrum where a parent is just very carefree, the child is free range and let to do whatever they want to do. There's no structure, there's no guidance. As a parent should be a guide and a safe connection for that child. And then they might feel like a little bit lost, and they don't fit in anywhere, and they're not connecting with anyone. So there's like a real spectrum there of how trauma can affect us and how the way we were parented can affect how we parent our children.
That makes a lot of sense. How do we be aware of our own personal trauma when we're parenting?
So if you're a parent, you might know how triggering parenting can be. So for example, if your child is having a tantrum, right, and maybe growing up you weren't allowed to cry, you were told to shut up if you cried. So when that trauma is trapped in your body, you couldn't process those emotions, and those stress hormones are trapped in your body. Now, when your child is having a tantrum and screaming, it's triggering that part of you that wasn't allowed to express itself, and you want to quickly shut down that child because it's so uncomfortable in your body because that trauma is being triggered by your child. So instead of telling the child to shut up and stop crying, we can become a bit more self-aware and think, this is feeling very uncomfortable for me, and just getting curious about that and being there for your child and being really present rather than being really stuck in how you're feeling and perpetuating that generational trauma that could happen if generation after generation they were told like, shut up, don't cry. So parenting really starts before we become a parent. I know that it starts way back to the partner that you choose, and the partner that you choose is going to have such a significant impact on your nervous system, on your stress levels, on how peaceful you feel, and how conducive that is to having a really nurturing and safe space to bring a child into. So it really starts with, am I attracting the right partner or going for the right partners that are conducive to having a really trauma-aware, conscious parenting environment, a peaceful environment to bring a child into. And then when you become pregnant, and then at about 3 or 4 months old in the womb, the nervous system of the baby, and the child is already scanning the mother's nervous system and the environment to see what they're going to come out into. And trauma can already start there. So even for myself, when I was in the womb, I would have been scanning and seeing, what is my father like? What is the household like? What am I coming into? Oh, my mum feels very alone and unsupported, and I could take that trauma on while I'm growing in her belly. So that's when it can start. And then ages 0 to 7, a child's body, even if they don't consciously remember, remembers every single thing. So when you let your baby cry it out, when you hit a toddler, when these things happen, when a child is watching domestic violence or watching fighting, they're literally absorbing every single thing that is going on and what happens to them or what doesn't happen to them when they're not protected and abuse happens. And that's their blueprint for how they are going to be as an adult. And most of our personality is created ages 0 to 7. So the more traumas that there are, and there's a study called the ACE study where if there's violence in the house, alcoholism, abuse, neglect, the more likely someone is to have obesity issues or health issues, addictions, and issues in their own relationship.
What advice would you have for parents out there to repair their own relationships with their children?
Yeah, so when we explain all of this information, they become aware it can bring up a lot of guilt and shame of perhaps how we've caused our children trauma. But the great news is there's neuroplasticity, which means that we can heal our relationship with our children. You know, we can say sorry to our children, even if we thought we were doing the best that we could, which we definitely were. And we can start to repair that bond that we have by creating positive events, creating positive memories, holding space for our children's emotions, holding space for our own emotions firstly so we can hold space for others. So we can start to break the generational cycles and the perpetuating traumas that are getting passed down in our DNA, in our environment, in our families. It's never too late. And the first step is, you know, working with someone yourself and releasing that guilt, that shame, and healing your traumas, and you will naturally evolve and be able to heal that relationship with your child.
Thanks, Melissa. That's such valuable information. If you'd like to know more about Melissa Hiemann and how trauma shows up in our parenting, go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And that's all for us for today. We'll say bye-bye until next time. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.